This is it. Oh, Tina's is good. I like the shoulder. You got to go a little bit because it does take a few seconds.
Get it there, like,
you know.
It appears there's a lot of arms floating around.
That's it. Well, that's the goal. You know, you can do something like this. If you have a swivel chair, it looks really good. Then you can kind of move it around. No, hey, all right, we are live. Good morning, everybody. May the 4th be with you. This is a fun little, I don't know if we're really going to talk about Star Wars, but if you guys saw the little promo thing, you know, that was kind of fun. A big shout out to Jimmy Johnson, not to be confused with the race car driver. That is his name, who put the little jam session flyer together. So we welcome. This is our 5th jam session for DuPage Real Producers. We have a great, I don't even know if you want to call it a panel lineup, mini panel. These little sessions have been really fun with the absence of being able to connect in, you know, groups of 20, 50, 100 plus. I mean, God willing, I'm not going to put a date on it, but I mean, God willing, we will have an in-person event, you know, soon, next few months. I don't know if everybody here remember those conversations about a year ago, or, you know, end of March, early April, when kind of COVID was hitting and people were thinking, oh yeah, I think we got to postpone our dinner plans. Let's reschedule in 2 weeks when this whole COVID thing dies down. Does anybody remember having those conversations? Guilty, right? And here we are 13, 14 months later. And so it has been a ride, and it's just, this is something people have been asking me, are you still going to do these little sessions? I had somebody email me the other day and they're like, yeah, I kind of listen to it like a podcast just because it's always up-to-date information. And so I want to acknowledge first the realtors that are on this. You guys are carving an hour out for this, which I do appreciate. I want to acknowledge, you know, just everybody watching. They're not getting paid for this. They can be doing other income producing activities, and I understand that, but it's also great to sort of sharpen one another and also just be sharpened. So I'm going to have very briefly the realtors introduce themselves, partners introduce themselves, and then we're going to start talking shop. So in that spirit, Alice, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Hi, I'm Alice. I've been doing real estate for 16 years, and I'm with Compass Real Estate in Naperville.
Hi, Tina Marie Mateja. I'm with Baird & Warner in Downers Grove. This is my 18th year in real estate.
Hey everyone, I'm Wendy Pawlak with Pawlak Properties, and I'm representing Keller Williams in downtown Downers Grove. This is my 15th year in real estate. Honored to be here, so thank you so much.
Hi, Lee Ernst here with eXp Realty, and I've been in it since 2005. Very similar.
Hi.
There we go. Everybody go.
Who's next?
Eva, I think you're up.
Hi, I'm Eva Burns. I'm with RE/MAX of Naperville. I've been in the business 19 years and super excited to be part of this panel again
Well, we appreciate it. And as the realtors just introduced themselves, I just want to sort of give out a shout out to the partners. I mean, I literally, people give me a lot of like just credit. Hey, this you looked great, or hey, it was a great event, or, you know, whatever. But I cannot do what I do without our partners. These are people who essentially took a risk on, you know, supporting a platform that to support realtors. I mean, that's essentially what this is. And so I get the joy. Sometimes it's not a joy, but you know how that is. Like it's people. I laugh at. Oh, it's cool. It's a magazine. You make a magazine every month, and I give the analogy of, yeah, that's easy. That's fun work. And I give the analogy of, oh yeah, it's like selling a house. You know, just put a sign in, transfer some funds, and you know, move on to the next one. Right? It's just simple. So I do want to give the partners a shout out and a chance to introduce themselves. Before I do that, one thing that is very positive that we launched, because I still get emails and text messages, hey, do you have a digital copy or an online copy of the magazine? I'm like, of course we do. It's 2021. However, it is in an app. I don't know if you guys can see this super well. It's called Digipub. That's a little sneak peek right there of the May cover. We did a whole little fun mother-daughter / mother-son theme. And it's DIGAPUB. So if you're curious how you can download or access all the past issues of DuPage Real Producers. Chicago's on there, North Shore's on there, and actually all of our markets are on there. Download the app. Currently it is free, but this is one of the, this was actually supposed to be a fall of 2021 project, but with all the pause of the events, we had a little bit more time to launch this early. And so they'll probably start charging for it. So I've been encouraging people, even if you never look at it, set up an account. It's free, doesn't cost anything. And so the reason we can do stuff like that is because of our partners. So I'm going to allow the partners to introduce themselves, and then we're going to start talking shops. So Theresa, Nora, why don't you guys go ahead and take it away?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Nora, and this is Theresa. And we own Home Glo. We do staging, redesign, and design services for our realtor partners and our homeowners.
We're located in Downers Grove.
Yeah, and we've been doing this for 6 years.
Love it.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, Ryan Horvath. I'm with Chicago Title. I've been in the industry since 2002, roughly, if that includes an internship I did while in college. And I'm DuPage County, so my offices are Westchester, Oak Brook area, Hinsdale, Burr Ridge. I'm also out in Naperville as well. So kind of a pretty large spot of the western suburbs. Good to be here.
Thanks, man.
Hey, Tom Hawbecker here, firm Hawbecker and Garver. We're located here in Hinsdale. I'm starting to feel like an old timer here. I think we started the firm in 2003, so 18 years we've been doing this. We got a nice little team that handles these transactions all throughout the Chicagoland area. Happy to be here.
Well, thanks everybody just for the opportunity to connect and talk shop and just scratch one another's back. So when we were sort of, this is the part where I get out of the way, let's face it, nobody wants to hear me talk. So as people start sharing the feed to their group, I'm gonna tag everybody. But Lee, when we were pre-gaming, you had a good topic to kick us off with. So why don't you go ahead and get us in motion, sir?
Yeah, I think in today's environment, we're dealing with a lot of multiple offers, and it's putting, everyone in a little bit of a situation here, positive and negative. Obviously positive for the sellers, lots of negativity for the buyers, especially if you're up to bat and it's 3 strikes or out type of thing. We've noticed it. I'm correlating it to a 2 a.m. poker hand. In other words, these poor buyers, when you see the one offer that is so off the charts better than everyone else's, those poor buyers must have been struck out twice already. And now they're at bat for the 3rd time. And they're like, here's all my chips. I'm putting it all in there. And yes, I'm going to waive the appraisal and this, that, and that just to get the darn house. But then of course, as agents, we have to tell the other 10 agents that didn't get the offer and all the other good stuff that goes along with these multiple offers. So yeah, it seems like, oh, this is such an easy thing, but no, now we've got spreadsheets of who offered what. Are they asking for the home warranty? Are they asking for this? Is there any credits? And next thing you know, you literally got to go through all of these with your sellers too.
About some of the new improvements, and one of them was unlimited offers on a multiple offer spreadsheet. So yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lee, I guess every listing we put up right now, we expect multiple offers. And it's overwhelming, I think, just as much for the sellers as for the buyers. I know that I'm seeing, at least down here in my local area, sellers cutting off the showings before the weekend even hits because they're so overwhelmed with the offers that are coming in. So as agents, we're working so much harder trying to organize these offers in a way that our sellers can even understand them, right? I mean, are you seeing that as well, that it's overwhelming for the sellers, and trying to, with the buyer's agents getting so creative with their offers, trying to edge their offer in to make it special, right? It's definitely, we're all fine tuning our skills, there's no doubt, and trying to do whatever we can as a buyer's agent to make our offers special and stand out. And then as listing agents, trying to convey them to the sellers to show them, it's more than just the dollars, which offer provides the least amount of risk, which offer meets their terms, as far as close date, and which, is really the most solid offer for them to accept. And it's never easy for us as listing agents to say no to 7 other offers. I mean, I know I put a deal together in Elgin this year, and the agent was, I think she was with the EXP actually, Alice. She was so taken back. She said this was our 8th attempt at a purchase. And she was even taken back that we took her offer. And she was so excited that her first time home buyer teacher got the deal. So, you know, we're back into crazy times, that there's no doubt about it. And, you know, I don't know what to say other than it's setting the expectations for our buyers and our sellers, and telling our buyers, you know, not to expect to get the first or second deal. You know, it's a full contact sport right now, right?
100%.
Yeah, and Eva, I think you really hit the nail on the head. It's setting those expectations. And I can't, I mean, more than ever, I just am begging, you know, our team is constantly trying to raise the bar of the realtor and the industry and lead with integrity. It is so important right now. And it starts with setting those expectations. The disappointment comes when that buyer didn't know what to expect. And honestly, that's Absolutely. On us. That's Absolutely. On us. So it starts at those consultations. It starts at the listing appointment, starts at the buyer consultation, what to expect, so that it's not a new conversation. It's a remember when we talked about that conversation, and leading with that the best foot. And I know it's difficult in the midst of this, but it's definitely a time to grow as a realtor. If you're not getting the win, it's keeping those emotions between the lines and growing. How am I going to improve? What can I do differently next time, versus being, excuse my language, pissed? You know, save that for another day. This is our team sees this as an opportunistic market, not a market to be frustrated with.
I love that. I have a question for you guys, like just from my end, because it's weird when we were spitballing this earlier, and Lee brought up the topic. We were talking about our mobile earnest money deposits and how we're seeing the $300,000 home range, $400,000 home range with these, you know, what to me seem like crazy earnest money. So, you know, $300,000-$400,000, right? Like in the or $30,000, $40,000 earnest money deposits for, you know, a $300,000 home. And I guess like one, 2 questions for you guys really. Like one, like what does that really come into? And 2, is there an off switch when you're representing a buyer? Like pull back the reins, you know, maybe rethink how crazy you're getting with this offer?
Well, I can speak to it on actually both sides of the coin. So there was one situation where I was the listing agent recently. We did get 11 offers. The one that we accepted was actually cash. And so because we thought, oh, well, it's cash, so that's why we asked for more earnest money, so more than the traditional amount. So that made sense. As far as the other side of the coin, when we're representing buyers, yes, we find, kind of just to piggyback on what everybody else has said, we're finding that we have to really hold back the reins, and we have to hold a tighter line, because if we don't do it now, we're going to end up with very upset clients in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, when they need to sell. Mm-hmm. Meaning if we start waiving, you know, that's our biggest pet peeve right now, is a lot of agents out there are just waiving things left and right. They're waiving appraisals, they're waiving an inspection, they're taking it as is, they're waiving attorney review. And it's just not, we have to hold the line somewhere. We have to hold ourselves to that higher degree, like Wendy said. And so we can't, I mean, if the comparables don't justify it, even the ones that are under contract in the PLN or pending, if there's no justification for it, I mean, we're not going to allow our clients to bid 50,000 above what the current market value is and waive the appraisal and waive the, I mean, that's just setting them up. Wendy's eyes just got really big. That's just setting them up for not only failure, but then it's going to come back to us, because what's going to happen is they're going to call us 5 years later, whenever they want to sell, and they're going to say, well, why didn't you tell me? You know, why did you let me do that 5 years ago? So it's really, it's on both sides on the coin. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have to say that I'm much more struggling with when my buyers are very well qualified, but the price point is inflated. Like, I mean, I've had my sellers come to me and be like, let's try $75,000 higher than last year. Look at this market. And I'm like, you know what? We'll know in 24 hours if that's the wrong price. And guess what? Someone comes in and pays it, waives the appraisal, and then I look like a dodo head because I'm like, that's really not the value of this house. But someone else just made it the value of the house. So I'm struggling then when the next weekend I'm out with my buyer and I'm saying, you really want to go $50,000 over on a house that I don't see that value. And I know if we waive our appraisal, if we had an appraisal, it wouldn't appraise. And so my value on both sides has been a little bit of a struggle because I say it's not worth it and someone pays it. And I say, are you sure you want to pay this? Because I don't think it's worth it. And they do because they want it and they've lost 2 already or whatever. If they're priced well, I'm not having a problem at all.
Tina,
$1,000 over list, I don't find a problem if there's value there and you can see the prices going up. Does that make sense? So it's like finding the middle ground.
I agree with you both, Alice and Tina both. You know, here's the thing. I sat at a listing appointment the other day and it was really interesting. I was the 3rd agent in, and they said that they had 2 opposite opinions from 2 other agents. And when I sat before them, I said to them, I know why. And I'm sure all of you are seeing this. I said, these closed comps from October, November, December tell one story. And these pending comps from February, March, and April, if they close at or above, tell a totally different story of the value of your home. And when they're closing, when they go under contract in a day or 2, that tells me they're closing at or above because we all know what's going on. And just 3 months apart, we've got totally different values in your neighborhood. And that's why the agents came in with 2 totally different numbers. One was looking at the closed and one was looking at the pending, and you're about to go on the market. And I don't know if you're seeing that, you know, when you're going out there too. And I struggle like you do. All of us have been in the field. I mean, clearly I'm the dinosaur here right now today. The reason we've all been in the market, as long as we've been in the market, is because of our integrity, because we're not in it for a deal. We're in it for the resale, like Alice said. We want to be there when it's time for our clients to sell. We're in it for the right reasons. We're in it for our clients to grow an investment and have this be a win-win for them. You know, a win on their purchase and a win on their sale, and have them make a smart investment. And so those of us with that mindset are struggling right now in this market to advise our clients properly. It's hard. It's hard. It's no harder than back in 08 or 9. It's just different, very different. But when we're looking at what's happening, and, you know, and that was my big thing today is, well, 2 things, you know, appraisal. You know, we've been dancing for appraisers again, and the appraisers are answering to underwriters, and we've got this swell of pendings, and, you know, and we do have 2 different stories. Are all of you seeing that as well from the fall? Because we had that bit of the hush around the election, and then boom, everything took off again. So 4th quarter was a little bit quieter than 1st quarter, and
I was looking at some DuPage County stats, Eva, and it was pretty crazy. I mean, if you just look from March to April, your DuPage County listings are up 16.5%. I mean, that's pretty awesome for all of us. We need more listings. I still think there's a huge, you know, there's a lot of people on the fence, kind of scared. I know my wife and I were looking, and they're going so quick. It's like, what do we do, right? Do we put less down, which makes us not as attractive as an offer, but we keep our house so we're not contingent or anything.
Right.
Waiting on the sale of a home, you know, I mean, it's just crazy. So I mean, 16.5%, and then you look, you know, 1st quarter overall, which last year 1st quarter was pretty good. I mean, in April everything went kaput, gone. But I think like 1st quarter wise, we're up nearly 29% in closed sales. So it's crazy. The market's there, we're increasing, but it's totally nuts. Like, I'm curious, I'm looking at Tom over there with the, you know, the volume of the closings and thinking about representing buyers and sellers in this market. I imagine you don't see a whole lot of demand from the buyer side as far as, like, you know, letters go 3-4 pages long, wanting new light fixtures and everything else. That's probably kind of gone right now.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Ryan. Yeah, some of that is easier, but on the same note, we'll get a contract that's as is, you know, and we wait for feedback from the client saying that they approve it as is condition, and they come with 5 or 6 requests. And you're like, hey, hold on here, you know, and you had to reiterate to them that you agreed to purchase this in as is condition. You're really not supposed to come in. You're creating a counter offer here, and you got to kind of take them back from the fences. But to the point that was made earlier about the appraisals, with all of these appraisal waivers that we're seeing as well, when we get these contracts, I have yet to see, you know, a number of appraisals come in low. I don't know, agents, are you? By and large, these things are still appraising out. I can't even think of one in the last few weeks that's come in undervalued. Agents, are you seeing that these things are appraising out for the most part?
I would say for the most part, Tom, they are, but probably out of 40 or so this year, we've had 6 or 7 that have not appraised out, and then we've had to challenge successfully. But I mean, that's still higher than I'd like to see, you know, 6 or 7 out of 40. That's, yeah.
So you're
yeah, we haven't seen that many, not yet. There's a lot of pendings here.
Right.
So Alice, you're successfully fighting those appraisals, and you are winning the fight.
We are winning, yeah.
Appraisals, they did drive-bys, because the ones that I'm seeing that don't come in shouldn't have come in.
Yeah.
Yes, no, it's you're exactly right. Like, most of those were drive-bys, and they shouldn't have been drive-bys.
Right.
We were waiting for the call, and then all of a sudden we get a notification that it didn't appraise out by 10,000 or something like that, and we're like, well, what do you mean? We never got a call. Oh, well, it was a drive-by. So then we have to start all over, back up, you know, and then formally challenge it and all that. Yeah.
So what happened? That
What
situation
happened?
that
So what happened was we challenged it, and we have an advantage on our team. We have a full-time appraiser, so he has taken the reins on that, and really just, I mean, he knows how we came up with that valuation, you know. And he knows how appraisers think. So then he'll write up like a full letter and draft memo. These are the comps that we use. These are the adjustments. And then he'll set up a time where, you know, because in the challenge process, they have to set a new appraisal date where the new appraiser meets with him, or the original one meets with him at the house. So then, you know, we kind of just start all over, you know, and then he presents all the data. And then we've gotten it reversed every single time, luckily.
We recently had one where the appraiser did the armchair appraisals, what we're calling them. It didn't appraise by like 20 grand off of the offer price. And long story short, they denied to send a real person out there. And the house, believe it or not, this one was actually worth the price that someone was paying on it. But the bank denied it. And next thing you know, the poor buyer says, well, maybe they could split the difference with us, and you know, we worked it out that way. But in all honesty, I think it probably should have appraised. The house was that nice, and yet they would not send anybody out. So you're kind of stuck with what your hands are being dealt at that point. Take it or leave it kind of thing. Right.
Tom, just to address the appraisal waivers, and this is where I'm very concerned, to Alice's earlier point. And I didn't know this until, you know, about 6 months ago. When I was getting these appraisal waivers, it's not the same as waiving the appraisal. The appraisal waiver is generated from the lender. And I always thought that was based on the home. And what I didn't know until 6 months ago is an appraisal waiver is specific to the lender or to the buyer coupled with the property. It's a combination. So if you have a very strong buyer with an 800 credit score and a property, that's how they're getting them. And another buyer may not get that appraisal waiver. And so because of that, we might be artificially elevating the value of that property. And that's, to Alice's point now, are we taking a strong buyer, putting them into a property with an appraisal waiver, and the value of the property really might not be there? And then are we doing them a service or disservice when we do that to get the deal done? But 4 years from now, what is that going to look like?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a
And
great point.
if I can jump in here, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit, because so from early on in my career, I will remember the conversation till the end, is I was really taught not to stand in the way of the transaction. And they said, if you do your job, meaning educate and consult, it's not my choice.
Right.
It's ultimately the buyer's choice. So again, leading with integrity. If I've done my job, then I shouldn't have that remorse. I'm laying everything out there. I'm telling them the pros, the cons, what they're getting themselves into. And at the end of the day, I have to step back and let them decide. So yes, I hear what Alice is saying, because we're on board. We're creating clients for life. I mean, that's the name of the game. But in the end of the day, I also watch and I walk that line of, am I letting my emotions and my, we really, as our team, we try not to stand in the way of the deal, because at the end of the day, am I actually doing them a disservice? I truly believe in this market, as long as you're not bidding against yourself, you're not overpaying.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that what Theresa and I try and do is we try and give our clients all of the information, and then they make the decision if they're going to invest in their home. They're going to make the decision if they're going to overpay. And like, we've all done it. We've all paid maybe more for something that we really wanted. And then we know that going into the other transaction, like when we get ready to sell, if we know we've overpaid, we take that into account when we're selling again. The question I wanted to bring up to you folks is what's sitting on the market? Is there anything that's sitting there? And if so, why is it sitting there? And why are nobody's offering on it? Nobody's purchasing it. What's going on that end of the market?
I think high end for me is sitting, but I think it's also funny when you say sitting, we're so used to getting offers either already in the private network or the minute you hit the market that all these offers are flooding in. So as soon as you put something on and it doesn't get an offer in 24 hours, I'm already in a panic. Like, what did I do wrong? Maybe I should check my video. And you're rethinking like, oh, the pictures are terrible. Oh, this is all my fault. And it's actually, an average market time for a house over $1 million in Downers Grove is 28 days. And at 3 days, I'm in a panic. So I think we kind of have to separate the value of the time frame that it takes to sell different types of houses, and how your buyer pool is very different. At 500, you get 19 offers, but at $1 million, you could certainly get multiple, but it better look really good.
Can I ask a quick question of all of you too? We were discussing earlier how the price point, determines how quickly at some point, like the lower priced homes are the unicorns. So, we do consulting, and I'm just curious, how much do we need to tell our sellers they need to update at those lower price points? Is it matter at this point? Or if they're in like a great neighborhood, are they just getting sold word of mouth? I mean, we don't want to tell people to paint and change light fixtures in a market where they don't need to. And I know Nora and I have found ourselves on the other end. We're doing a lot more decorating these days because they are buying the homes that weren't fixed up because they wanted the neighborhood. So I'm just curious from your point of view, like, as realtors, do you want to see them still fix up, or do you just feel like, hey, if it's in the great place, I just want to get it on?
Where do you start with that?
That lower price point, definitely if it's in the right neighborhood, but it can't be a mess. Like I have one right now, and he pulled the carpet up and then didn't put any carpet down and didn't paint the shutters, didn't cut the grass, the basics, didn't clean the shoes up. And I kept saying, Mark, you are leaving so much money on the table because of the neighborhood you're in, and everyone goes in there and thinks there's something wrong. Then he doesn't sign the disclosures and he wants to sell it as is. So they all think it floods. So had he done the things that you would normally do, clean up the shoes, remove some furniture, he would have sold in 24 hours and he would have sold for over list. And now instead, I get 33 showings and everyone's like, what's going on in the basement? And it's literally just a lazy seller that should have done what you would have told him to do. And he would have made all that money in a minute.
Is anyone else seeing seller reluctance to even paint a room? Because I'm starting to see that now. Seller reluctance to do anything but maybe tidy up the house.
We've been in a lot of houses lately where the homeowners, they're in the right area in, our cities. And they're like, well, everything's flying off the market. I'm not doing anything that you guys are recommending. And we're like,
might get more offers,
okay.
but maybe we just want to know what's up.
and they are sitting, we're seeing them sit. So, and it's funny because usually 30 to 45 days later, they have the painter in painting away.
Right. Yeah,
that comes to like holding costs right there. It's like with these consumers, like not only holding costs of this property, but what are you thinking, right? You can be above list. That's what you're hearing in the marketplace, but also just a friendly reminder that you're losing a month, 2 months, 3 months in a market like this is potentially expensive.
Right. Kind of like what Tina said, then they go and sell, right, Tina? Then they go and sell. It's hard to judge. Alice, are you seeing some seller reluctance to do?
I am. Yeah, it's more than before, where before they would have asked you, okay, well, what do I need to do, right, to get the house ready?
Right.
And now they're like, well, the market's so hot. Do I have to do anything? So the question becomes, do I have to do anything?
Right. Right. Is even edging and mulching. I'm getting questions. Should I edge and mulch? I'm like, yes, please. And probably our buyers need the home consulting more than ever before, because they're buying these homes and they're a little bit tired. Because in the past they would have been refreshed for market, and now they're not, and they desperately need you. So, that would probably be when the sold sign goes up. That's probably when you two need to go in there and help these poor buyers out.
We do have a lot of homeowners that will work with them through their sale process. And once they buy their new place, they want us in right away. So
for sure.
The other thing we're seeing, as you guys kind of alluded to, we have people that are purposely intending to buy fixer-uppers. So they sold their house way too fast. They thought they could rent in the meantime and fix up. Now they're stuck. They have to move in their fixer-upper, and they're forced to make decisions really quickly and live in a dump. So I don't know if that's like a trend. They just can't. Everything is just going too fast.
And Theresa and I, we both have seniors in high school. And so we've noticed a lot of people that we're going to wait a couple years before they downsize. They're like downsizing immediately, and they don't know where they're going, but they have their house on the market.
Now, where do you go? That's the question. It's like, oh my gosh, I've lived in a fixer-upper. I did that 6 years ago. Oh my gosh, it was brutal. I slept in the basement while my family moved to my in-laws for a little while. I rehabbed a house in Westmont. That was an experience. I don't recommend it to everybody. But that's a good question. Like, where do they go when the sellers are thinking about that, guys? Like, how do you start that conversation? I mean, I think of my wife now. Is there a chance to like rent the home back for a certain? Are you seeing that more in contracts to, give yourself a 60 or 90 days in these homes until you can find something else?
Yeah, we're seeing longer close dates for sure. And then rent backs. Yeah. Especially because if sellers don't know where they're going. But the problem is we try to talk about that with the sellers up front, because especially if we know it's going to sell fast, we try to brainstorm with them on the front end. Okay, where are you going to go? Because the rental market is also very tight. So it's crazy. The rental market, we put up a rental listing on the market in 2 applications came in sight unseen. And then I had probably 24 realtors who were very angry with me because they said, well, how did you you didn't allow showing, so how did you already accept an application? Well, they submitted it sight unseen. So the rental market is not necessarily a good option. So we try to brainstorm with them. Are there relatives they could live with or stay with? Could we, start searching while their house is getting ready to be put on the market, right? If they don't need to sell, some sellers don't need to sell in order to buy, right? With that contingency. And then we start really aggressively looking before their house even hits the market.
Yeah, we had a seller in Western Springs, and they put in 3 offers, 3 or 4 offers, and they wanted to use us for staging, but they didn't want to put their house on the market until they had a purchase. And so they went through a couple iterations before they were able to do that. They have young kids and they didn't want to rent something. They had no family in town. So yeah, they're doing that too.
Yeah, and a handful of contracts that we've seen, there's a express seller contingency that they have to find a place to buy in order to sell to our clients. I don't know if you've seen that, but we've certainly seen that on a handful of transactions, as well as the post-close possessions. I don't think we've ever done as many post-close possessions as we have now. Sometimes paying PITI, sometimes letting the seller stay there, for free for 30, 60 days, just as part of getting the deal. But those 2 issues certainly are pervasive. Yeah.
Tom, you got a good point there. We just had something weird happen where usually it's the buyers that are asking for the extensions. We just had a seller ask for an extension, and they're like, wait a minute, what do you mean you can't close on time? Well, we haven't actually got a house under contract yet. It's because, we sold everyone's talking about selling the seller's house so fast. Well, they got 45 days to get something under contract and then move. Well, guess what? They did a 3 strike, it's like first 2 didn't go, finally got the 3rd one. At this point, you wasted almost 3 weeks. So now there's no way you're closing in another week and a half, right? So yeah, it's been interesting, and thanks, Tom, for that tip, because yes, I think we're going to have to start putting that for our sellers as a option anyway, in case they can't find anything, because this happened a month and a half ago, 2 months before it was this crazy. So now, yeah, we're all getting some new tips here today too, it seems.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I just heard something about new construction. I'm curious if any of you are working with developers in the area. The home starts are up, I guess, the most since 2006. And Tom, you might have seen this as well, but I've been hearing some interesting things in these construction contracts as far as material costs and how out of control it is. And developers are putting in there for the consumers to sign these contracts, things like, up to 8% material changes, developer covers, anything above and beyond that goes to the consumer, which now, from a financing standpoint, and what am I really getting into? That makes for an interesting thing to deal with as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you're contemplating things now that you weren't really contemplating 4 or 5 months ago on some of these new construction builds. But I just had an email from a client that was inquiring, hey, can the seller come back to us and say, hey, we're going to charge you a little more. Some of these fees went up, and the contract is a little silent of that. This is a contract that was prepared in 2020, right? And it just wasn't really taken into consideration. So it's an interesting point. Seller has yet to say anything, but we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Can we go back to when you were talking about the closed comparables versus the pending comparables? Are you guys holding on to some listings and saying, let's just wait for those 2 to close, because then we definitely would have, especially in a townhouse complex or a condo complex, I'm waiting for 2 to close so we have some justification for our price point. Because if they use last year's closed sales, there's a huge difference.
Right.
And other agents seem to be very forthcoming with what they got or close to what they got or their list price. So are you guys holding some things just to make sure that you're not sitting in that boat with fighting the appraiser because he's looking only at the closed comps, which are over 7 months old?
So twice now in the last month, and one of the things I was really wanting to come out in this forum today, some of you I've never met, some of you I have. And, over my many years in the industry, we all have so many relationships, right? It's a relationship business with our clients. It's a relationship business with our real estate community. In those situations, Tina, I've reached out to those pending agents because I always know at least one or two of them. I never ever, violate what's confidential. But the question I ask is, are you past appraisal? And those agents who are past appraisal or not, let me know. We're in this together. We're all in this together, and that's not violating anything that we need to keep confidential. And in both instances, I found agents that I had relationships with, and I actually was receiving texts from agents I didn't know asking me on certain properties this year as well. Happy to communicate and share that kind of information to help our sellers and our communities move forward, right? And the question's simple: are you past appraisal? And if so, how did it go? It's never a number. And if they are past appraisal and it went well, I let the appraiser know, here's a comp, it's past appraisal and it went well, is all I say. Call this agent. Because the agent can share that information with the appraiser. They just can't share it with me. So Tina, that's what I've done twice now, once with pricing a property and once with getting a property in Woodridge to appraise. And my appraisal in Woodridge raised the bar for sure and appraised. So I'm leaning into my real estate community. And just yesterday, I leaned into Alice, and I sent out this desperate text to 10 realtors in my sphere who I knew would help me. 3 of them responded with tremendous help for my clients. If we're not all working together, we're all competitors, but we're all one community working for the best of everyone. Alice bailed me out big time yesterday with some resources for clients of mine who were in an emergency situation, which is what I was dealing with this morning. We're in this together, and helping our clients to get to the next part is part of our responsibility, and that's how we all have to look at each other. We have to help each other through these little, obstacles that we come across every day and get to the next obstacle, right? But yeah, that's what I did in those circumstances. And that's why these forums are so important, so we can all fine tune our skills and learn something new and get our clients to the close and on to the next, right? So thank you, Alice. I appreciate it.
I love it. It's a small world indeed. And out of the closing, that comes into my mind all the time. We are busy. It's grateful to be that busy. And, I know we were kind of talking about this a little bit before, but showing up to a closing. I mean, the realtors, trust me, we want you guys back. I know we had to pull back the reins in a lot of cases, especially last year. That was challenging when we didn't really know what we were up against, to be honest. We are seeing more of you come into our offices, do a drop off, or, hang out, and kind of come in when the closing's over, communicating with your attorneys. Tom, I see you and Paul all the time. Woo! I got to say, from a title company's perspective, thank you, because it makes for a difficult day on our end when people, don't show up. Obviously, there's times when individuals can't, and we all understand that. And I guess being prepared is another thing. So I'm excited to get you guys back. I'm curious what you're doing now. Like, has anything changed? Are you doing any type of virtual celebratory things with your clients, or stopping at their home post-close or anything like that?
We're mainly just doing post-closing drop-offs. Yeah. And then we set up a time. And we find that's more convenient because usually right now on closing day, in the midst of moving and unpacking, it's just very hectic for them. So to give them something and say, hey, here's one more thing. It's better when they're we give them a little time, like a week or two, to kind of situate themselves and get settled.
I love that.
And then, we set up a time to personally drop off something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this appeals to any of you realtors, but you can gift our services to those homeowners. And then it's not a thing. Like, you know how like everybody has too many things these days? It's a service instead of a thing.
Or if they inherited, a fixer-upper, they might really appreciate it.
And they might not know what they're getting into, especially if they're sitting out in the burbs, condo in the city versus single family home in the suburbs, which you're seeing a lot of. They might not even understand where to begin or where to prioritize those projects, right? That could be overwhelming. I think that's a great gift, Theresa.
It is a great gift. I think that I agree with Alice. It's been a little anticlimactic not going to the closing, to be honest with you. And sometimes people forget to let us know that they actually closed, which is, it's just a weird space right now for us. But what I decided to do is when things kind of slow down right now, because everything's just so crazy, July into August, I'm going to do with my photographer porch pics with my clients. So my photographer is going to go house to house for all my buyers and do porch pics so that they can be more presentable than they tend to be at the closing when they're a little bit more frazzled.
Ooh, I love that. That's a great idea.
And then they'll have a nice picture when they're prepared and showered and in their new home and do porch pics, and then we'll use it for marketing at the end of the year, and then they'll have it for themselves as well and can have whoever they want there on the porch with them. So we're going to do that as a little gift basket for them and things like that. So I usually like to do more of that toward Halloween and Thanksgiving, more that time of year, just as a thank you for your business. So
Eva, I had a question about that. So the porch pics, is it just like a normal photo that you give to them, or do you put it on some sort of like plaque or plank or something?
This is the first year that my photographer is offering them, and I'm super excited. What I envision doing, Alice, is a canvas. So I was going to do them at Costco because they had the best price, but they got rid of their photo department. So I'm researching that, but I think we can go out to all those online companies and get the picture on a canvas for them. And I think it'll look really nice. So I'm super excited about it. We'll probably start them in October, deliver them, somewhere in the fall. I've got to get the schedule, but we'll deliver them in October and November for the families as a thank you.
Try Canvas Champs online. They usually have like buy two, get two free. So
oh, awesome. Okay, thank you.
Your pictures together.
Okay. Yeah. So just something different, and we'll see how it goes, but I think that'll be a fun, a fun treat that nobody else will, that you just don't tend to do that for yourself, right?
I think that's a fantastic idea. I really do.
I like it. Hey, real quick, because we're about 10 minutes out, let me get a screenshot of everybody smiling. Now here's the disclaimer: do not be like my children and smile for 2 seconds and then stop. Ryan's laughing. You feel me, right? So here's the rule: when I stop smiling, then you stop smiling. Okay. And see, that was supposed to be like a fun joke to get you to smile. So that hopefully that killed two birds with one stone right there. All right. Get some. This may or may screenshot may or may not be in the next issue of DuPage Real Producers. 2, 3. I think. Let's get one more for good measure, but I think we actually did nail that on the first try. But hold on. 2, 3. Wow. All right. I think we got it.
Ooh, I held that one.
I don't even think I needed to do. I didn't think I needed to
My
do
cheeks
this.
hurt.
I'll have creases all day from that one. No,
Awfully happy for a Tuesday.
That's
right.
right.
Well, we all have to be happy in this market. I can say it's been crazy. It's such a pleasure to be on these. It's really cool to hear everything that you guys are like. Eva, that was a fantastic idea. I love brainstorming. Over at Chicago Title, I do a lot of marketing, part of partnerships and postcards and things. I'm sure some of you farm areas. And one thing that I've seen COVID time that could be a hint is I'm telling a lot of realtors to don't just go that 5 to 7 years anymore, not in this market, as far as that most likely to sell time frame that we're all really, really used to. We're seeing on the title side we're constantly getting questions about, oh, why isn't the title up though? You know, we just got this order, we can't pull a prior title. Well, that's because it was from 2018 or 2019, right? I mean, historically, we don't even get that data put in until a few years later. And now we're scrambling to update that into our system for the attorneys like Tom and Paul and his staff over there. And I'm seeing that as a huge opportunity to go, okay, if I'm currently farming an area, that 5 to 7 range, we're seeing people move out of the western suburbs only being there a couple of years. I don't know if you guys are seeing that a lot, but
It's like 5 to 7 months now, is what you're saying. I'm just kidding.
I mean,
Sorry.
maybe if the appraised values keep going up like that, I mean, I guess you could make pretty good money and get out. But just an interesting little tidbit on the marketing side that I see to get more listings.
Yeah,
Are you guys still
we're definitely seeing shorter stays.
Are you also seeing people move out of state? We're seeing a lot of out of states.
Way too many people moving out of state, that's for sure.
Right.
Which is why we actually have a license in Scottsdale and Phoenix now. So we're prepared. We're getting some of that.
Nicely.
Yes, we're ready for those movers. We are.
You got to add Florida to that list, I hear, and Tennessee.
Florida.
And
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure. Half of my friends have a place in Florida and I missed out on it.
Right.
Yeah. So reiterating the craziness of the market, but I'm just thinking back last year to the year before that. Every spring we get those multiple offer situations. It seems like since probably 2012, when the market got back to what I would call semi-normal. So it's not like we haven't been here before with the multiple offers. It's just this year is probably a little bit more crazier than the previous years, because almost everything, we would have those few really good spring listings that had the multiple offers, but now it's like everything. And then the poor buyers, and it's like, yeah. So anyway, it's just more of what we're used to. We just trying to manage the abundance of it.
Yeah.
I'll sell the ranch house in Westmont that I rehabbed on the half acre as long as the future buyer signed something about babysitting the 4 children and the, you know, maybe even throw the 2 dogs in there for a little bit. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe you and Andy can do a co-op or something. I don't know.
We'll figure something. I was thinking we could do like a May the 4th be with you in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like kind of.
Oh, there we go.
Something.
There we go.
If you haven't seen that on your, that was hilarious. So just.
I knew you'd like that. Yeah, little Fresh Prince of Chicago title. Well, we've had fun this last year. You know, I think Wendy knocked it out of the park earlier, right? She really, really did. You know, if you're in this type of environment, there's nothing but opportunities. And a lot of the struggles and things like that we've all been through over this past 13 months are opportunities to learn, like she said earlier. You know, I mean, just doing social media marketing, making that little Fresh Prince of, if you guys haven't seen it, find me on Facebook. It's fun. We had a good time with it. And but it was just fun to get all our staff involved, right? Like the staff at the title companies and a lot of these offices with the volume and everything they're dealing with is they're beat up. You know, I mean, they're tired. It's been a crazy year. So, you know, have some fun with it. Learn along the way. Even Wendy, again, I mean, that was amazing. Actually, when you said that, that just makes me so happy, right? Because I'll talk to some professionals that are kind of on the sidelines a little bit in this market, and it's the exact opposite. It's like right now we should be increasing our IQ about the areas that we work in, or expanding farm areas and doing different marketing and, you know, finding these opportunities. So yeah, Fresh Prince of kind of went off on that a little bit, Andy, but yeah, we'll have to put our own video together. We'll throw Tom in there, the 3 bald amigos.
Okay. Whatever you need. Well, we're like 5 minutes out, so I mean, and not everybody has to share, but I mean, why don't we wrap it up with just any gold nuggets that you know you're going to implement. I mean, as we're, you know, I mean, it's like April is, I don't think April, May, it's like we're knee deep into this market. I mean, I understand that, you know, April to September, August is where agents make most of their, you know, you got to kind of harvest the crop, so to speak. But I mean, what are just some tips that that realtors, you know, you guys are going to be like your one thing, what's your main focus or two for the month of May that you're going to be doing to be as productive as possible? Anybody can start, and it is totally cool. I know when I say that question, 3 people are going to talk at once, so open floor. No, nobody wants to talk, so, you know.
I'll say something really quick. It is very reassuring to me to hear the talk of the agents on this panel. There's a reason you're on this panel, because we get contracts with, you know, waiving the appraisal or taking it as is, and when we talk to the client, they look like a deer in headlight. They don't really know. They haven't really been properly consulted as to what they're getting into. So just kind of a kudos to everybody that chimed in here today. That it's certainly reassuring to know that you're properly consulting with your clients, and again, not standing in the way, letting them make that final decision, but getting them the information, the right information they need to make that decision, right? Because a lot of times when we get that contract, it's like, you know, just like I said, they're throwing in inspection requests on an as-is deal. What do you mean I'm going to be in default if the property doesn't appraise out? You know, it's just, so kudos to you guys for properly addressing that with your clients. It's good to hear.
Had that happen yesterday. Actually, it was interesting because I needed it in writing to cover myself and my seller. We had an offer on a private listing network that hasn't hit the market yet. It was over list price, really good offer. Was my seller was thinking about taking it, but then said, well, what if it doesn't appraise? So I called the agent, said, hey, would they take it? And they said, okay, sure. Yeah, we'll waive the appraisal. We'll bring in the cash, whatever the difference is. I said, okay, cool. Can you put it in writing for me? Because if not, I don't want to go through the whole paperwork and then have to send out an addendum and you're not going to sell it. So give me something in writing first. He texts back and says, well, now that I explained it better to my buyer, she's not so sure she wants to do that. So again, cover your butts. Make sure everything gets spoken about ahead of time, because you save the attorneys a lot of hassle from getting involved later. Let me just say that.
Right. Right.
And it just happened yesterday, so it's very timely.
Yeah, that's good. Anybody else? Anything to share wrapping up?
Yeah, I think it goes back to knowing your market too. So yes, the overarching theme right now is that inventory is low and prices are up. But if you dig deep into, I mean, real estate is hyper local. So if you dig deep into certain areas, you've got to watch those higher price points. You know, everyone's pushing price, and sometimes the story isn't that those higher price points are selling for more. They're now just selling, and they weren't selling in 2018. So I can't stress enough that I don't open doors for a living. I consult, raise the bar, know your numbers, know your industry, really lead with that integrity piece. And it's just super important. And we're going to see it, because eventually who sets the prices? The buyers, and the buyers are going to say enough, and they're going to put that cap on. But what happens, unfortunately, I've seen it over and over throughout the, you know, the ups and downturns, is I feel like sometimes we're lagging. So we're behind the market instead of running ahead of the market. So we're like the last ones, and we're still pricing above, and the prices have already halted. So I can't stress it enough. Really dig deep. So yes, that's the overarching, but you know, to everyone's point, if that, you know, everyone said upper tier, those upper tiers are now moving. If you're not getting that home sold, then you're over your skis, with all due respect. So just watch that. I can't stress it enough.
I love that. And I think that's a fantastic stopping point, only because I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we are going to cut the line. And I like Wendy to piggyback. I mean, real estate is hyper local. That's what our platforms are. Like, people sometimes don't understand, oh, how come I don't get a copy of the hard copy of the magazine? It's like, well, it goes to the top 500 agents in DuPage County based on production in DuPage County, because those are the realtors who are doing most of doing the majority of the business. Same thing with Chicago, same thing with North Shore. So I mean, it is, and these are the people who need to talk shop. So I mean, it's really an honor to connect you guys. Like, I feel like the waiter. I'm not super important. I just sit back and you guys like serve all the nice goodie treats and drop the knowledge. So we're going to cut the live feed right now and wrap up with that. All right, live feed's done. Seriously, everybody, I appreciate it. I know you guys have money to make, but if you want to, you know the drill. If you want to get on another one of these in a month or 2 or 3, we can shuffle the deck, get different realtors partners on there. If there's also too, I've had realtors reach out and say, hey, would so-and-so want to participate? And we can, we can sort of collaborate on that. So it's just really good to get, I feel the more, there's a point in business where the more you're communicating, the great. However, if you're communicating all the time, you don't have chance to go out and pound the pavement and prospect and push stuff across the finish line. So there is a fine balance. So I guess what I'm trying to say, we can wrap up with, I am a resource, lean on me if you need me. And I wish y'all a productive rest of your day.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you,
everybody.
Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Good luck, everyone.
You too.
Thanks, you too.